I've always believed that a marriage isn't ruined in one night. It's a slow process, a collection of little moments that chip away at the respect and connection you once had. My name's Alex. I'm 42, a software engineer who's been grinding away at a steady job for years. My wife, Sarah, is 40, works in marketing, and we've been married for 15 years with 2 kids, a 12-year-old daughter, and a 9-year-old son. We live in a cozy suburban house in the Midwest, the kind of place where everyone thinks we're the perfect family. Sarah even posts about our blessed life on Instagram all the time, with filtered photos of family dinners and weekend getaways. But behind that facade, things started crumbling. It didn't start with outright humiliation. No, it began with subtle digs that I brushed off, at first telling myself she was just joking, just being playful. I remember the first time it really hit me. We were at her sister's house for a Sunday barbecue. The sun was out. Kids were running around the yard. Drinks were flowing, and music was playing softly in the background. I was chatting with her brother-in-law about a big project at work, something I was proud of, a new app that could streamline operations for our clients. Before I could finish, Sarah cut in with a smirk and said, "Oh, don't get him started about his work. He'll talk for hours and somehow make you think he's building the next Google, but really he'll bore you like he bores me in bed." The whole group laughed, that awkward kind of chuckle where people aren't sure if it's funny or mean. Her sister Lisa laughed the loudest and egged her on, saying, "Yeah, sister, tell him spill the tea." I forced a chuckle too, but inside my stomach dropped. It stung deeper than I let on, talking about our intimate life like that in front of family. But I told myself she was just teasing, maybe stressed from her job. Once you start noticing something like that, it's hard to unsee it. The little remarks became a pattern. We'd be out with friends, and if I misremembered a detail in a story, she'd jump in to correct me, not gently, but with that tone that says, "I'm smarter than you. Let me fix this for you." At family gatherings, she'd joke about how I couldn't load the dishwasher right, or how I once got lost driving to a place we'd been before. And every time there was that same laughter in the room, hers the loudest, with Lisa always chiming in to amplify it. I know what some people might say. Lighten up, it's just banter. But here's the thing. Banter is mutual playful. This wasn't that. It was always one-directional. I never made those kinds of jokes about her, never called her out in front of people for her mistakes. It wasn't in my nature to score points at someone else's expense, especially not my wife's. I'd sacrificed a lot for our marriage. I turned down promotions to be home more, while she climbed the ladder at her company, even took out loans so she could get that fancy MBA. And now this. At first, I told myself she was going through a phase, maybe stressed from work or something. But deep down, I started feeling smaller around her. It's a hard thing to admit, but the person you share your life with has the greatest ability to shape how you see yourself. And when the one who's supposed to be in your corner keeps taking shots at you, it starts to leave marks. But that was just the beginning. It got way worse, and I had no idea she was hiding something monstrous. Those little digs Sarah threw at me didn't stay little for long. They grew sharper, more deliberate, like she was testing how far she could push before I'd snap. It wasn't just at big gatherings anymore. It seeped into smaller moments, the kind that should have been safe. We'd be out with just one other couple, and she'd still find a way to make me the punchline. One night, we were having dinner with her best friend Rachel and Rachel's husband. I was telling a story about fixing our garage door, something I was actually proud of since I'm no handyman. Before I could finish, Sarah jumped in with a laugh. Yeah, and it only took him 4 YouTube videos and 2 trips to Home Depot to figure out which end of the screwdriver to use, just like it takes him forever in bed. The table erupted in laughter, Rachel cackling the loudest, even texting Sarah. Under the table, I caught a glimpse of her screen. Later, something about how pathetic I was. I laughed along, but inside, that familiar twist in my gut was back. It wasn't just the joke. It was how she seemed to enjoy making me small, feeding off the attention, while Rachel egged her on like some loyal sidekick. The worst part, I started noticing how people looked at me after her comments. Not pity exactly, but something close, like they saw me as less than her, like I didn't measure up. That subtle shift in their eyes hit harder than the jokes themselves. Privately, I tried to talk to her. I sat her down one night and said, "Sarah, these jokes are starting to get to me. It feels like you're putting me down in front of everyone." She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and said, "Oh, come on, Alex. You're too sensitive. People know I'm just joking. No apology, no acknowledgement, just dismissal." That should have been her wake-up call, but instead she doubled down. I started doing mental gymnastics to justify it. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe it was her way of feeling confident in social situations. But deep down, I knew it wasn't right. Then it got worse. Sarah started dragging our kids into it. One day, I overheard her telling our 12-year-old daughter, "Emily, Daddy's not good at anything, sweetie. That's why Mommy has to handle everything." Emily started acting distant, barely talking to me at dinner. Our 9-year-old son, Jake, picked up on it too, asking me once, "Why does Mommy say you're always messing up?" That cut deeper than any public jab. I tried to stay calm, be the good husband, but the resentment was building, and I felt myself pulling away. Emotionally, physically, everything. I stopped sharing my day with her, stopped joking around, because I knew she'd twist it into another laugh at my expense. The real gut punch came when I found out Sarah was hiding something far uglier. She joined this local Facebook group for women's empowerment, posting about being a victim of emotional abuse from me complete lies. She claimed I controlled her, isolated her, even made up stories about me yelling at her in front of the kids. The group ate it up, showering her with sympathy. And here's the kicker: money from a charity fund for abused women. She'd been collecting hundreds of dollars, claiming she needed it to escape. I found out when a friend from the group, feeling uneasy, tipped me off with screenshots. I was floored. This wasn't just humiliation, it was betrayal using a system meant for real victims to paint me as a monster. Then came the discovery that broke me. One night, I checked her phone while she was asleep, not proud of it, but I was desperate. There were messages, flirty, suggestive, definitely not friendly. And the guy Mike, my old college buddy, now her boss, at the marketing firm. He was the kind of guy who'd always bragged about his conquests, the kind who'd smirk and say, "Your husband's a loser, Sarah. I'll take care of you better." But it wasn't just texts. I found credit card statements, thousands spent on hotel rooms, lingerie fancy dinners, all for Mike. Then the real knife texts, where they plan to divorce me, take half the house, and get this Mike promising to ruin my career by spreading rumors at my company. They laughed about how I'd never suspect a thing, how I was too weak to fight back. I felt like the ground vanished under me. But I didn't confront her, not yet. I started gathering proof screenshots, GPS logs from her car, even a voice recording from our home security system, where she and Mike mocked me while I was at work. I waited, not in desperation, but like someone waiting for a storm they know is coming. I knew the perfect moment would hit, and it did, at a friend's birthday party that turned everything upside down. The night it all came to a head started like any other social outing, but I could feel the weight of everything I'd been carrying. I drove us to this trendy downtown restaurant, all exposed brick walls and low lighting, the kind of place where private talks feel safe, but public words carry. Sarah was in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone, barely responding to my small talk. She wore this stunning red dress I'd always loved, and I told her she looked nice. "Thanks," she muttered, not looking up her focus on some text she didn't want me to see. I let it go, but my gut was already twisting. We were meeting a mix of our friends, some mine, some hers, including her best friend Rachel, who'd become her cheerleader in this campaign to tear me down. The group was lively, about a dozen of us, at a long rectangular table near the back. Sarah chose a seat across from me, which was odd. She usually sat beside me, but I brushed it off. The first hour was fine. Drinks, flowing appetizers passed around, everyone swapping stories about work and life. I even shared a quick anecdote about a win at the office, feeling a rare moment of ease. Then it happened. The conversation turned to marriage quirks, those little habits couples tease each other about. One guy mentioned his wife hating his open cabinet doors. Another joked about his partner's fridge organizing obsession. The mood was light playful, until Rachel, grinning like she'd been waiting for this, turned to Sarah and said, "Come on, Sarah, what's Alex's worst habit?" Sarah leaned back, her mock-serious expression locking in. And without missing a beat, she said, "Honestly, his worst habit is thinking he's a man in bed when he's just a disappointment." The table exploded with laughter, sharp, unfiltered, some even slapping the table. Rachel leaned forward, eyes gleaming, and said, "Girl, spill more tea." Sarah, feeding off the energy, went on listing exaggerated lies. How I brag about small work, wins. How I act like I know everything. How I can't admit I'm wrong in the bedroom or anywhere else. She was performing now, soaking in the attention like it was her personal stand-up routine. I sat there, drink in hand, my face unreadable, but my insides burning in that cold, absolute way. This wasn't teasing anymore. It was a public character assassination, and she was loving every second. Rachel's cackling, the group's laughter. It all made me feel like an outsider in my own life. I caught one friend, glancing at me, uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure whether to laugh or step in. In that split second, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to let her keep doing this. I'd been holding on to the truth for weeks. Texts, photos, credit card receipts, recordings, and I knew this was the moment. I didn't want petty revenge. I wanted something that would stop her in her tracks, make her feel the vulnerability she'd been dishing out for months. I waited for the perfect opening, and it came when my buddy Tom, maybe trying to diffuse the tension, said, Come on, Alex. You gotta have something on her. What's Sarah's worst habit? The table went quiet. All eyes on me. Sarah smirked, confident I'd say something tame or fumble. I set my glass down, slowly, looked straight at her, not angry, not smiling, just steady, and said, "You know, I could answer that, but I think it's better if I show everyone. Sometimes the truth is more interesting than jokes." I pulled out my phone, and the air changed. Sarah laughed awkwardly, trying to brush it off, saying, "Oh, come on, he's just being dramatic." But I didn't laugh back. I said, "Let's just say, while I've been working late to keep this family afloat, Sarah's been using our money to sleep with Mike, my old college buddy, and her boss, and lying to charity groups, claiming I'm abusing her to scam their funds. I didn't show the full proof, yet just held up my phone with one screenshot, a text from Mike saying, 'We'll take his house after the divorce. He's too weak to fight.'" The table froze. Sarah's face went pale, her smirk gone. Rachel opened her mouth to defend her, but stopped when she saw the screenshot's timestamp. Then I dropped the real bomb. "Oh, and that Women's Empowerment Fund. You've been milking Sarah, the one for abused women. I've got proof you used their money for hotel rooms with Mike." I played a short clip from our home security camera, Sarah and Mike, in our living room, laughing about how Alex will never suspect while planning to ruin my career. The table was dead silent now. No laughter, just shock. Even Rachel looked horrified, her loyalty crumbling. Sarah tried to speak, stammering, "It's not what it looks like. It's a joke." But her voice cracked, and nobody bought it. I didn't press further that night. I wanted the seed planted the doubt in her eyes, the curiosity in theirs. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and she knew it. The air was thick with tension, and as I leaned back sipping my drink, I could feel the room was mine. The ride home from that restaurant was exactly what you'd expect after a moment like that, silent but not peaceful. Sarah stared out the passenger window, arms crossed tight, her breathing shallow and quick, like she was trying to hold herself together. I didn't rush to fill the silence. I leaned into it, letting it suffocate her. Halfway home, she finally snapped her voice, sharp but shaky. "What the hell was that supposed to mean back there, Alex?" I kept my eyes on the road, calm as ever. "You know exactly what it meant," I said. She turned toward me, her tone flipping to defensive. "You're twisting things. You're trying to make me look bad in front of everyone because you can't take a joke." That word joke hit me like a slap. I pulled the car over onto a quiet side street, turned to face her, and let it out. "A joke is forgetting the punchline, Sarah. A joke is tripping over your shoelaces. What you've been doing for months, tearing me down in front of our friends, our kids, even lying to charities to paint me as a monster while you cheat with my old friend. That's not joking. It's betrayal. It's theft. It's pure evil. And you thought I'd never push back. Tonight I did." Her eyes flickered, that nervous darting when someone knows the truth is on the table. She tried to hold my gaze but couldn't. When we got home, I didn't storm inside or slam doors. I went straight to my office, pulled my phone out, and opened the folder I'd been keeping for weeks. Screenshots of her flirty texts with Mike credit card receipts for their hotel stays, GPS logs showing her gym nights at Mike's apartment. Even that damning security footage of them mocking me in our own home. I'd been meticulous, knowing a private confrontation would just end with her gaslighting me, calling me paranoid or insecure. But I wasn't going to let her wiggle out this time. The next morning, I made coffee, like nothing had happened. Sarah was tiptoeing around, avoiding my eyes, probably hoping I'd let it slide. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a fight. Around 10 a.m., I sent a single group text to her sister, Lisa Rachel, two friends, from the dinner, her boss's boss at the marketing firm, and the head of the women's charity she'd scammed. The message was simple. Since Sarah's so comfortable discussing our private lives in public, I thought you all should see the full picture. Attached were the screenshots. Nothing obscene, just enough to be undeniable her texts, with Mike calling me a loser and planning to take the house receipts for lingerie and dinners paid with our joint account, and proof she'd lied to the charity about being an abused wife to pocket their funds. The timestamps, the emojis, the "I can't wait till your husband's asleep" texts, they told the story better than I ever could. My phone lit up within minutes. Lisa texted, "Oh my God, Alex is this real Rachel who'd laughed so hard at Sarah's jabs, sent a week. I had no idea." The charity head called furious, saying they were launching an investigation. Sarah's boss's boss replied, "This is unacceptable, we'll handle it." Sarah came storming into my office phone in hand tears streaming down her face. "You've ruined my life," she screamed. I stayed seated, calm as ever. "No, Sarah. I just stopped letting you ruin mine." She tried to bargain, throwing every excuse in the book. It wasn't serious. She was lonely. Mike pressured her. She wasn't thinking straight. I let her talk, and when she was done, I said, "It doesn't matter if you slept with him once, 10 times, or never. The intent was enough. The disrespect was enough. Lying to our kids, stealing from a charity, plotting to ruin me with my own friend, that's more than enough." That afternoon, I packed a bag and left, not to punish her, not to make her chase me, but because I was done living in a house where I was the punchline. The fallout was swift and brutal. Sarah's company fired her within days, citing misuse of funds and reputational damage. The charity filed a legal complaint, accusing her of fraud, a scandal that hit local news, making her the talk of our small town. Mike's wife found out, sued him for divorce, and his firm let him go after the rumors he'd spread about me backfired. Lisa, who'd laughed along at Sarah's jokes, called me crying, saying, "We were wrong about you, Alex. We see the monster now." Even our kids, after I sat them down and explained the truth, gently asked to stay with me. Emily, my daughter, hugged me and said, "I'm sorry, I believed Mom." Sarah tried to claw her way back. First a casual text, then a long, tearful email about missing what we had. A week later, a late-night call, sobbing that she'd made a mistake. I didn't respond. Through the grapevine, I heard Mike ghosted her completely. He wanted the thrill, not the drama. Without him, without me, without the social safety net of her friends seeing her as the clever one she was alone. Rachel unfriended her, too embarrassed to be tied to the mess. Sarah's family, who'd once laughed at her jabs, now saw her differently. Her lies exposed her mask off. I filed for divorce, armed with every piece of proof to ensure I'd keep the house in custody. You don't win by making someone feel as bad as they made you. You win by walking away so completely they can't touch you anymore. I'm free now, free from the constant undercurrent of disrespect, from walking into social situations wondering what jab she'd throw next, from trying to save a marriage where one person was actively torching it. The sweetest twist, hearing Sarah's scrambling to rebuild her life, ghosted by everyone while I'm rebuilding mine with my kids by my side. Sometimes the loudest statement isn't an explosion. It's the quiet act of leaving with your dignity intact, letting the other person drown in the wreckage they created.